Hey, Kelly, the fast food giant out with, as you mentioned, much better than expected comps. U.S. same-store sales increasing 4.6% in Q3. Analysts had projected an increase of 1.9%. The bump came from an average check growth from larger group orders and also strength at dinner as consumers flocked to delivery and drive-thru during the pandemic. September sales were also strong with low double-digit comps, the best in a decade, the company says, and positive comps across day parts, although traffic was still negative for the quarter. Let's bring in Joe Erlinger, the president of McDonald's U.S. Joe, thanks so much for being here.
Hey, thanks so much. It's a pleasure being on.
Well, congrats on the sales numbers for the quarter. Very strong, as we mentioned. We know promotions like the Travis Scott meal and also spicy nuggets help to bring in new consumers. How sticky are those new customers, and do you think they'll stick with the company once these promotions run out?
Yeah, thanks for the question. And I know everyone wants to focus on the Travis Scott meal and spicy chicken McNuggets, which definitely contributed to the fantastic September that we had. But the setup for this great quarter actually started much earlier in the year. I think, as you know, our drive-thrus have been getting faster at McDonald's. We've made a lot of investments in digital and drive-thru and delivery as well. And then really we made a lot of changes to our business model as the pandemic set upon us. Over 50 changes in operations. We limited our menu and we've made our restaurants easier to run. And I think all of that also at the same time, we conserved some of our marketing funds. And when we began to unleash those marketing funds in the third quarter, and that's what set up this great result, 4.6% double-digit comps in September.
Also, breakfast, as we all know, has kind of been a challenge, not just for McDonald's, but the industry at large, because everyone's routines are kind of disrupted because of the pandemic. You had positive comps throughout all day parts. You also introduced some new breakfast items very recently. Would you say breakfast is back at McDonald's?
You know, also when we entered the pandemic, we had reversed what was a long-term trend of negative guest counts. So I know it's been lost in the results and what happened in the pandemic, but in January and February, we actually had positive comps at breakfast and positive guest counts. And I think it goes without saying, you know, we don't sell the spicy McNuggets or the Travis Scott orders at breakfast. And we've obviously seen, like I said, positive comps across all day parts. So we are actually very optimistic about the day part. We're excited about the bakery launch that'll take place later this month. And we've got a real built-in advantage on this because of our drive-thrus and just because of our overall convenience factor. And so, yeah, I like the characterization. Yes, breakfast is back at McDonald's.
Also, franchisees were in a really strong cash position, heading into the pandemic. What would you say is their biggest headwind moving forward? Obviously, despite these results, it's just a challenging time in the industry. So what's their biggest challenge looking out ahead, Joe?
Yeah, they did come into this in a position of absolute strength. 2019 was the highest cash flow year ever for our franchisees. And I think some of the steps that we took through the pandemic, both to support them in terms of their liquidity, but also, again, to make the operations of the restaurant easier. We actually improved margins at the restaurant level as well. And so they're actually coming out of the worst of the pandemic in a very good position, very strong financial position. The mood amongst our franchisees is strong. I was in restaurants in Washington State a few weeks ago. Last week, I was actually in Washington, D.C. There's a lot of optimism and confidence as we enter the fourth quarter.
Great. Joe Erlinger, we're going to leave it there. We really appreciate your time today. Thanks for being here.
No, thank you, Kate.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.